ini kwandogara ukatarira pazhe unotobva watopfeka zvekuti uri kuinda kuchina kwatinohwa kuti kunotonhoraka asi uchingoti bude fambe wozoshamisika una kuti kuzuva zvorotobuda sezvarakuita izvo kwakutodziya zvawabva wakapfeka zviya wakavirikidza uchiitira kutonhokwa zvotoshayiwa basa wena. I hope you also don't fall into that trap like I normally do. Mazano ndakungwarira asi ndakuziva kuti what they call layering. Handiti hauzoiti zibhachi 1 year rinopisa unovirikidza kuti unoita sehanyanisi. You peel each layer as the day goes by so that you don't freeze to death. And interestingly, it was silver grey, but it was actually pretty warm outside. Kwakusotombotonhora kwazvo saka kwako kwawamukira kuchitungwiza uko pada uri kukuwadza na5 wauchida kuinda kumaindustry. How was the weather this morning? And I know many people love it when it's like this. Ina nditombodi kwakadai ndoda kuchipisa kuchibanda chaiko ndobva ndatozvona ndakagara pasi pomuti, which I never get to do, but that's just how I love my weather, as I always tell you. Wamukase. Thank you so much to the Champions League breakfast. Ko nice Spirit Fingers va uri pano. Funny story that I have with Spirit Fingers. Sakatokura tose. Tachitosekana kuti wazoita marika uchatambineswa na Folake tavatunhu tudukuduku in your landscape. But it's so amazing to see, what he's doing. Many thanks to Ngoni was holding it down, but Sunny who was vanodzoka zvavo musi wemande asi Ngoni unenge uri pano mangwana. Isu zvatadai nguva yedu yasvika muchiziva kachiri china kudai. We always start off with a simple expression which we say green morning, and as always totanga chitaurisa nenyaya maererano nemagariro atiri kuita as far as our environment is concerned. National park, but they're moving gracefully through the field and not so far off. Urikuona zvakunotori ne varimi. For them, it's another year of hard work that's been trampled overnight. And to be honest, this, if you are that farmer, feels like it's a double-edged truth of living next to these giants. Majestic, beautiful they look like. But when you wake up and your harvest has been destroyed, flattened by this big giant, it's a problem. And that's why this morning we want to look closely into the human-elephant conflict, a story as old as time. But now we're entering a brand new chapter. It's written in code, it has satellites and real-time data. In fact, scientists have gone and strapped GPS-enabled collars around elephants' necks near Wange. And this effort is linked to a system that's called Earth Ranger. Now, these collars help rangers know elephants are going to be roaming before disaster strikes. But what does this really mean for communities that are living in Wange, for example, or any path where elephants are going to be roaming? And also even for the elephants themselves. And we want to find out this morning, how can technology and possibly even our indigenous wisdom walk side by side in saving both our crops, our yield, but also these beautiful creatures. And joining us this morning is a voice that's not a stranger to Green Morning. In fact, mazano takatovaisa uchuno muhuro tichingovati uyai mutibetsere tiwisise nyaya idzi. Last couple of weeks, if you remember, he was helping us understand the Transfrontier Conservation Area Conference yaitwa muno muZimbabwe courtesy of SADC. Vakatibetsera patachitenetsekana nenyaya dzetsikidzi, trying to understand how do we coexist with these elements that are in nature. He is a spatial ecologist. He's an elephant protector. He's also what I like to call a data whisperer, and you'll find out why. And with over 18 years experience, he's the man who has his eyes on the ball in the sky and is also putting all this on maps. So, As you're listening in, I also have a couple of questions for you when you are thinking about coexistence with our wildlife. Do you think it truly is possible for us as human beings to coexist with our wildlife? And this is a question for you to also engage with. So where I'm about to take you to the bush, also into the control room in a sense, as Dr. Ndiamani helps us understand exactly what this initiative is all about. Doc, it's always a pleasure having you coming in, onto our show Green Morning, where we talk all things to do with the environment. And we are quite excited seeing what you are doing in terms of being able to track elephants' movements. Can you just paint a picture of us of this landscape we're talking about? How elephants actually move through. What are some of the dangers, the tensions that they are facing and even causing? Good morning.
Thank you so much, Folake. It's a pleasure to be in the studio today. Quite exciting discussion where we talk about the African elephant. Yes, I've been following elephants for quite some time. Very exciting insights that we basically get from that kind of trekking. I would also want to say elephants also spend much of their time outside of protection. So when I say outside of protection, this is outside of gazetted areas like our national parks, our forestry areas. We know, for instance, from research that elephants would spend 60% of their time outside of protected areas. And these areas also coincide with landscapes where we have people. The picture that we painted at the start of the show, where you see elephants walking through a crop field, is something which is quite common in the landscapes that we are talking about. And the issues that actually emanate from that kind of interaction have been at the center of discussion for quite some time. So yes, it is a key theme which also affects livelihoods. Because when an elephant walks through your field, it's looking at that crop field like it's looking at food. So it's going to just forage, and when it forages, it's going to affect you because you are not going to have a very good harvest. So this is something which is quite common in the landscapes that we are talking about. And we need to really use science to try and help. It's not exactly science only, but I think several other things. It's a multi-pronged kind of approach.
So, because if you in the most practical terms possible, help us understand what happens when an elephant actually collides with human life. I remember last year when I went to Vic Falls, because kwadziri haisi mugwagwa, hausi mugwagwa. Isusa vanhu vabva kuHarare hatichazivi kuti tomhoresa, totiza, umwe akati dzimai malights, hadzidi malights, isita hapana zvatinoziva. Can you paint us a picture of when an elephant collides with human beings, chii chinoitika at that moment, from your experience?
No, thanks so much. Pane zvakawanda zvinogona kuitika as a result of that interaction. One of them could be your crop is raided on, so they will just forage and you make losses in the as a result. Pane also my incidences where elephants would also attack property, pushing houses, granaries, or even cars. So these are common things that also happen. And then we also have competition, especially
what do we do in that moment as we are getting to the role of technology in our discussion today?
No, thanks a lot. So when you if you come across an elephant and you are driving, the most natural thing to do is probably just to stop your car, because in the way and then if you stop your car, you don't make a lot of noise, you maintain a safe distance, because mhuka imwe neimwe ine radius yainoti safe radius. Kana huku chaiyo if you approach too close inogona kutokuataka. Saka the idea is to maintain a safe distance from the elephant, respect it, just let it pass. But then when that interaction occurs probably in a crop field, you can't just leave it to forage and feed on your crop. Pane zvakawanda zvinogona kuitwa based on science, based on observation. You could make some sounds which could scare the elephant away. You could also create some smell which is not very friendly to the elephant, like the chili smell. The chili bomb has been used with a lot of success. Firecrackers have also been used. So it's a combination of things that can actually help to drive the elephant from the crop field.
Essentially, tinongomira to tisapanika unongomira.
Yes, based on experience, because I've worked in a park for a long time. Konarijo is one place where elephants are really vicious. So they would actually chase cars. So I remember when an elephant is coming, it's charging at you, stop the car, kill the engine, and then you just wait. Sometimes the elephant will just come to the car and just stop.
Got you.
Yeah.
So you've been studying elephants for years, Doc, and you've also highlighted this. From what you've been seeing, are there any patterns that you've seen about how they are adapting to, human-dominated areas? Kwatakawandira iwo adzakutoziva kuti apa ndepakwana mulilo ukati sikusvika ikoko uku ndokwana childcare. Have they adapted, and what's that like?
No, thanks. So my elephants are a very good memory. So an elephant head is normally led by what is called a matriarch. So this is an old female which has been in the head for a long time. They can keep memories that can go to even 70 years plus. So one of the ways you famba at a particular place here is number famba probably for 10 years. Yakambo famba napo, that memory has been passed down. So naturally my elephants don't want to be very close to people. But sometimes they don't have a choice, especially when their water is very close to people, they will come close. And when there is forage in your field, they will also come close. And then if your field or your home is within its movement path, we call them corridors and dispersal areas. Elephants would also do that. They would just walk through your field. They would try as much as possible to do that at night when you are not really awake and you can't really see. That kind of separation, temporal separation, they also use that kind of an approach.
So we're also seeing, Doc, in places such as Malawi, Zambia, for example, where elephants are also known to be moving to. Over 15,000 people live in areas where, elephants are also making their track. Now, with your experience, let's talk about the role of technology and what you are seeing. I mentioned earlier Earth Ranger. Maybe without necessarily being, their representative. How does the way rangers watch and monitor elephants, I'm getting tongue tied here, walk us through the technology that you are using? That you're using to monitor the movement of elephants, such as Earth Ranger technology. Walk us through that.
No, thanks a lot. So to start with, Pandai Tema studies, I followed elephants a lot, and part of that would be done through what is called satellite tracking. So what you basically do is you fit a gadget on the neck of an elephant, not very big, about 7 kilos, somewhere there. And then that gadget is supposed to be communicating with satellites. And then it picks a position fix after every 1 hour or 2 hours or 3 hours, depending on the setting. So with that technology, we can actually know where an elephant is after every given period of time. A collared elephant, to be specific. And then the Earth Ranger platform that we're talking about, it's an easy to use kind of platform which has been used to see these things, to do basic analysis, to see where we have what spots of use. So currently we are tracking in excess of 28 elephants in Malawi-Zambia landscape. We are also tracking 16 in the Wange landscape and several others in Pandamasue, which is very close to Victoria Falls. So basically, zvatinetichita kungoona kuti nzou iri papi at any given time, because you know sometimes you can't follow an elephant at night. Even during the day, it's not easy to follow because it's a big animal. It moves very fast, so you can't follow wherever it goes.
Yeah.
So based on that technology, you actually know where the elephant is at any given time, and then you can actually do further inquiries into how and why it's choosing that kind of movement and why it's using that part of the landscape.
So, random question: do they know that they have a collar around their neck? How do you think they're processing chinchamango? Because yomuka yangu vane chinhu muhuro.
Yeah. I think elephants are really intelligent. That's what we are picking from research. So they definitely would know that there's a collar because it's not very light. It weighs about 7 kilos. 7 kgs on average. Yeah.
This collar is 7 kgs?
Yeah, 7 kgs. But if you are looking at the size of an elephant, a very big elephant would weigh probably 6 tons. On average, let's say 4 tons. That's 4,000 kgs. So carrying 7 kgs is not much. The assumption is that it doesn't really irritate the elephant, but it knows that there's a collar because it's there dangling all the time. For the 2 years, 3 years, we'll be tracking the elephant.
Okay. So, it does not run out of power. How does it stay on?
Yeah, so normally there's a battery which is supposed to last about 2 years on average. So 2 years is more like a minimum. So if you have your fixes probably at longer intervals, like after every 4 hours, that battery can actually go to 3 years or even 4. We have also seen batteries that even go to 5 years or even 6 years. So there's a battery, and then it's ruggedized. So even in bad weather, when there's mud, when the elephant is wallowing, because you know elephants sometimes just roll in mud to protect their skin, and when they are doing that, the collar is also affected. So, but it's designed in a way that is supposed to communicate with satellites, and then it also transmits data as and when required. So yeah, we often get data without problems.
Without problems. Yeah. Okay, this is good to hear. So, does it also help us predict elephants' behavior? We know we're going towards climate change and many other environmental changes that may be happening. Or it's only giving you data in reaction to what the elephant has done. You're about to go into panic attack, your sugar level is about to go up. Is that the same principle with this collar?
So basically what the collar gives us is a location, just your X and Y, more like your longitude and latitude at any given time. So this is if it's coming after every 1 hour, the additional information that you also get is like your environmental temperature, how hot is it. The rest of the things we basically infer from further study. We call it spatial analysis. Like for example, we can actually calculate things like speed. How fast is the elephant moving? Because we have distance and time, so we calculate speed. So if an elephant is moving fast, we want to know why it's moving fast. Probably it's moving through a risky area, or it's moving slow because it's foraging. So those are inferences that we basically make from the analysis. There are also other exciting things like we have used what are called geofences. So a geofence is more like a virtual boundary around a protected area. So each time a collared elephant crosses that line, it's programmed into the system. It crosses that line, it triggers an alert, and that alert comes through to us as an SMS, WhatsApp, or even an email, and we know that an elephant is out of the park at a particular point. And that technology has been used to really send messages to villagers to say there's an elephant which is in your vicinity. If there's something which can be done to really redirect the movement of the elephant, we then do that.
It's Capital 100.4 FM Harare's happy. We have Dr. Henry Ndiamani vakuti betsera kuhwisisa technology yabuya kubetseredza isu vanhu nekugarisana kwatinoita nemhuka dzakaita sezhou kuitira kuti paite gakavo kana kugwisana kana kuenzana nogakava rinyatsoita because they can't talk, right? It's not a verbal but I'll use this for comical expression. Gakava ringava riripo pakati pevanhu nemhuka vachiona kuti toita sei kuti vanhu vakwanise kugarisana nemhuka. Can you imagine right now there are over 15,000 people who live within key elephant migration routes. We spoke about Malawi, Zambia, Zimbabwe. You also know Botswana also has a huge population around elephants. But imagine if we could use this data that Dr. Ndiamani is describing to help us better our relationship with wildlife. I was sharing with you, and I saw one of someone who was eating bananas, and the elephant came from behind. Obviously, it was a scripted, and they've trained the elephant. But the elephant came from behind, and and it got me wondering, we as Zimbabweans, we as Africans who are more in tune, as we like to think, with wildlife, how do we get to a point where we also and this is a very serious question I want to throw at you. I found it curious that this person who is not indigenous to Africa or to a place where elephants come from would be able to, is it to train the elephants? I mean, but the elephant knew to just come and get the bananas from the table, and then actually took the one that he was eating. But he was not in panic mode. He knew what was going to happen. So clearly there is a way for us not only communicate, but live actively, peaceably. No,
thanks a lot. Like I said, Ndambo runs over a long time. Hassan does cover that level, the interaction with elephants, especially when they are out. But what I know is if you go to wildlife areas, Manapus just as an example, one of the information you get is that you are not supposed to feed the animals, especially elephants. They've got a very strong sense of smell. So if you've got cabbages in your car, if you've got oranges, if you've got bananas, they can smell that from a very long distance, and they will try to come and get those from the car. How they are going to get it, I think it's a point of discussion. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So, but basically, I think vanhu vakagara nemhuka for a long time. They know how to interact with them better. And then they also tolerate.
But is it something that's not teachable? Is it not something that we could work at just understang that communication between, in this case we're talking about elephants? We don't panic, because I think the fight then happens when people panic. Then the elephant also says, and then it also gets defensive. Is it not something we can work at using technology and what we've seen other people able to do to actually train or communicate with these elephants?
Yeah, so in captivity you can train elephants. It takes a lot of time. In the wild, I think they are trainable because they are very intelligent animals. Some people even believe that they can do things that humans cannot do. It's actually based on research. Yes, I think we can teach the elephants. So I think it's a two-way process where as humans we need to learn, but at the same time we can also give one or two lessons to the elephants. This has been tried, like the collars that we are talking about, the virtual fencing and the geofencing. You can also have a little bit of electrical shock attached to the collar. So each time an elephant crosses a virtual fence, there is a shock which goes through, and then the elephant will learn over time that as long as it crosses a certain boundary, there's going to be a shock, and then it will learn to just come back like that.
Hey, we're almost out of time. I'm so sad because we had quite a few things that we wanted to tap in. Let's talk about indigenous knowledge systems, Doc. I know one of the things you and many others are very passionate about is science-based approach to wildlife conservation and things like that. As being unscientific. What's your take on that?
There's nothing unscientific about how we do things as Africans. Chakangoitika ndechekuti vamwe vedu, Caucasians and others, they've been able to really document their studies they write papers, they publish. But unfortunately, from an African point of view, that knowledge is not properly communicated. It's just verbally communicated, and sometimes the information is just now pass on. So I think there's a lot of useful science, useful observations, and useful knowledge which is there in the communities, which basically needs to be documented well to actually help us. Remember the other time I was talking about, there was a time when I visited Kenya and Amboseli, the Maasai. These are people who live with animals peaceably. It doesn't mean they are not killed occasionally, they are. And animals also cooperate. But when you see them, you actually see them probably drinking from the same point with elephants. They are collecting their water, zebras are also coming to drink, and goats are also doing the same. That kind of interaction is something which I have seen with my eyes, not with trained animals, but the animals that are coming from the wild. So it's possible to actually tap on that knowledge and live peaceably with these animals.
A couple of questions have come through for you. We've got to go to the news though. So beyond just stopping raids using this technology, how else are we seeing this tech coming in, particularly in terms of policy, mainly in terms of policy? Are we seeing any sort of influence this tech is going to have?
Yeah, definitely, because we now know there are places that elephants use that we didn't know before. Like for example, if you go to Wange, to the east, there is a major water body which is under construction. The Kwai Shangani, for a long time